Hey, travelers, it's Sparks Valentine here with
Erica Nerdy Yogi.
and
And Foxfires.
and welcome to Dyson Dish, the tabletop RPG roundtable discussion podcast, where the three of us are going along on travels, talking about three different topics every episode, and meet some interesting adventurers along the way that we bring into our silly discussions. So we really hope that you enjoy the episode and that you continue along the travel with us. So I guess we'll see you along the road. All right, Erica, roll that funky dice.
It is a 1. So, Foxfire, it is your topic.
All right, so since this is the 5e episode, I decided to go over combat in 5e. What are the issues that you have with it, because it is nowhere near perfect, and how can we make it better? So for me, one issue I have with 5e combat is if you're not the DM, and sometimes if you are the DM, it is boring. Just absolutely a snooze fest. Especially if you have a big group, which is more what I'm referencing, like the time that we had a group of 10 plus people and turns took forever. But it's just, to me, it just feels like you're waiting for your turn. You can't do anything during that time. All you can do is sit and watch what other people do and plan out your move. And normally I've got mine planned out immediately after I've already finished my turn, depending on what everybody else does. So as a DM, it's not as bad because you have to pay attention to everything and you're constantly readjusting your plans. But it can also be boring waiting on all the PCs to get through their turn so you get to your monster. And depending on how you run, like, I've run it both ways. If you run where all the monsters go at the same time or they all have separate initiatives, if your monsters all go at the same time, it's quite a bit of people to get to before it gets back to the DM, and then the players have to sit through the DM doing all the monsters. So it just, again, adds into that you're just sitting and waiting for your turn. So, me personally, some improvements I would make is, first off, try to make it dynamic. Try to describe what's going on instead of just saying, uses this spell. Example, BBG uses Fireball. Instead of just saying that, you see as a massive fireball drops down from the heavens onto your party. Simple changes like that can make a difference. But I think I've rambled enough. Erica, Sparks, what do you think?
Hot takes. I don't know. I mean, probably not. Some of this is like if you've watched videos on YouTube that are like how to speed up combat. Some of this is redundant because it is those tips just coming from me versus the other people that have made them, but the reason why people say them is because they work. What I normally do is roll your d20 and have a set of dice that are for this attack, set of dice that are for that attack, and they're color coordinated. So this is my first attack, this is my second attack. I pick my first attack up, I drop it, pick my second attack up, I drop it. If you've done a couple of rounds of combat, then then you kind of know, like, oh, if you're paying attention, sometimes what I will do is I'll write down, like, okay, a 12 missed. Or try to figure out a couple rounds into it what the AC is. If you have a DM who tells you what the AC is, just write it down. That way you can just pick all that up. You drop it and it's like, I missed. Next person. So if you kind of do that, if your DM will allow you to do that, if you're playing like a fighter or a barbarian, something that is literally just like, stab or slash, whatever, it will speed up your turn. If you're a magic user, there's not really a way because if the DM has to make saves, if on that side of the note, if you're a spellcaster as a DM, I recommend that you have a card on your DM screen that has your player's AC, so you don't have to ask them if you hit them. I would have their saving throws, like that their spell saving throw if you're using 5th edition, what the number is. Oh yeah, that's right. This is 5th edition, so I don't have to talk about different systems. Oh my god, I don't have to reference other things. Yay! Sorry. So that's a way for the DM to speed up your end. Another way is if you want to play like tier 3 in 5e, it's where it breaks down. I would stick to tier 1, tier 2 if you like long drawn out combats. Then going higher will work, but the combats are just going to last an hour for a turn or two. You're not going to be able to get very much. Use average damage, and that will save you as a DM time, because you know that the breath weapon does 36 points whenever you use it. Don't pick up all the dice and roll them. It is funner as a DM to roll it, and it's a scary noise, and they see you pick it all up, and it freaks out the players, but it's like you don't have to sit there and add it all up. If you suck at math like I do, it takes even more time. So that is a way to speed up combat. Keeping the same initiative, just static for the session. Roll it at the beginning so everybody knows where you are, so they know I'm on deck, because we've had the same initiative versus each combat having separate initiative. Will help you speed up time. Not using roll tables. If you are playing in tier 3, 5th edition, by God, you want to bog down even more, use a roll table. Unless it's wild magic, which is part of a class, you always should use that. But I would make the player have the roll table for wild magic up. They roll on it and they tell you the result, versus like the DM is responsible for having it up. It's their class. It's their responsibility to manage. Let me see what else. Oh, it keeps the group small. Like, I mean, Fox, you already talked about that. You get 10 people. What are you doing? Break it up 2 groups,
It's horrible.
We did.
You can keep the group small. Instead of your big bad, I guess, if you're fighting a big bad, or if you're fighting bandits, right? Maybe have them pull away for combat, and if you see everybody is bored, throw something crazy at the party. Change the combat, change the terrain, and now it starts to rain and lightning strikes. So, hey, if you're dealing something, and just kind of get like crazy with it, lightning strikes, it hits a tree, it falls in the middle of combat. Like, there are ways, to keep it fun versus to make it fast, to make it better. Layer actions, use weather. I know I'm all about the weather. Y'all laugh at me. But you can use, if you're outside, stuff like that happens. A tree falls in the woods. Why does it not fall in the middle of combat? If you use a shatter, and you're in the forest, there should be trees busted. Trying to make the environment part of the combat will make it feel more immersive, and it's like, okay, I'm really gonna think about where I'm gonna stand, because if I stand next to this rock, Erica's gonna make it fall, and I know then I had to make saving throws or whatever. Everybody, whenever I have a big bad, I have a layer, they know layer actions are coming, and they're ready for it. And what is it gonna be this time? So if you just plop down a 20 by 20 room, there's nothing for them to interact with. There's no RP. There's no layer actions or environmental hazards or an objective for them to do. Man, it's just, okay, roll to hit. Cool, do damage. Roll to hit, do damage. And it's just like, at that point, you might as well play a fucking board game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's what I think. I mean, it's my opinion.
I'm just gonna add,
Sparks.
I'm gonna add to what Erica said at the beginning, having your dice set aside. I also personally like to roll my damage and my to hit at the same time to save time.
Yeah, that's what I do.
It does literally nothing other than saves you a few seconds.
And plus, too, if you are a dice goblin, like when I was a ranger and my ranger was big into weed, I bought a weed die, a little pot leaf on my die. And that was her hunter's mark die. So I knew that was her hunter's mark damage. And so, and I still have that. Like little, every time I roll it, I think about Skylar.
Yeah, I 100% agree with with like the issue that you do see like with combat is it does get kind of stale a lot of the times if you've played as much as we have. Combat gets stale because it's the same thing every time. Even if you play a different class, like it's still the same thing. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do this, and it's the same outcome is usually gonna happen. Either you're either gonna kick their ass or you're gonna get your ass kicked. It's one of those. So I feel like there's really no like diversity in 5e combat in terms of the objective unless the DM has made the objective different within it, because a lot of the times whenever you see the combat in any of like 5e books or anything, it's always just you go, you fight this, you get the loot, and then you leave. You go, you fight this again, and you leave. So I feel like maybe like more diversity in like some of the combat scenarios that we see could make it better. Having your dice ready, being the dice goblin that I'm pretty sure all of us are, we all have certain dice that we always use. We know our class is always going to use these dice, so we have them ready. I mean, I have D6s ready, especially for now. I always have D6s ready. I have 3 or 4 sets of dice that are in just a dice tray alone. That's what I mainly use. That has, most of the dice that I'm going to need, like D10s, D8s. That is going to have enough for the spells that I'm going to cast. So rolling that and then rolling your damage with your attack is also, it's time saving. I'm basically repeating everything because it's pretty much, those are the things that we want to drill in your head is, these like time saving things that you can do to have more time to be able to get on to other things. Like when we were in that group of 10, like people wouldn't roll their damage with their like roll to hit, and it was like roll to hit. We knew what the AC would be because by the time it got through a couple of people attacking it, we've figured out what it is, or the DM told us, and it's like, okay, we know what it is to hit. So when you roll your dice to attack, you add your modifier to it. You should know if it hit or not. But people are still asking, does this hit? And then roll all their damage and then do that. And I'm like,
they wouldn't know what they were going to do until
yes,
the DM was like, you're up. And it's like,
that's another thing is like, knowing what you're going to do is always great. Yes, something can happen before your turn that can completely throw your turn out of whack. That's fine. That's different. At least you had an idea of what you were going to do first instead of having no clue it's your turn in combat. And you just being like, I don't know, let me look. And then you spend 2 minutes looking to see what you're going to do whenever it's like, do you not have a backup plan? I always have a backup plan of I could do this or I could do this spell. I really want to do this one, but I mean, if I have to do this one, then I can. So it's like I'll usually always have at least 1 or 2 spells ready on hand of like what I want to do, depending on how the battlefield looks, depending on the situation of what occurs. So I feel like being prepared and having other things can also make combat move faster, and being narrative with your combat can also help keep people more engaged than just, all right, it's this and that's it. That's all I do with my turn. And then it's on to the next person.
What I was going to say is like, just add into it. This is something I thought of when Sparks was talking. How you do like run NPCs that are, or sidekicks, whatever you want to call them, that are helping the party in the combat. I would keep it to 1 You never want your NPC or sidekick. If you go with sidekick roles, they're not going to be overpowered. But if you make an NPC and they join the party and stuff, you don't want that NPC to be so overpowered. It's like, why are we even here? This person could defeat this monster or do this without us. And if there's like 5 of them and the DM's having to take 15 or 20 minutes just to roll for the NPCs, that bogs down even more time. So, if you are a DM who has 5 NPCs, have your average damage for your NPCs. Don't roll their damage. Roll to hit, have each die assigned to this character. Like the blue one is for Reginald and the red one is for Liliana, and roll with them, and their average damage, and it's like, cool, this one hits, this one doesn't, and then you can move on to everybody else. I always put my NPCs last, and I stole this action economy and how the NPCs are ran from Legend of the Five Rings. We were at Gen Con, and a DM did this. I make the players tell the NPCs what to do. When I say players, I mean their characters. So someone in the party role plays them screaming out, Liliana, we need heals, or, Reginald, flank with me, stand in front, or what, there's a weak spot, stuff like that. If the party does not give the NPCs directions on what to do, how to fight alongside them, then I don't use them, because then I feel like the party has been traveling together. They've been battling together. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses and spells, what they're capable of. These people have no clue. Maybe they've never adventured with them before. This is their first battle. They need direction. Where do I fit in on this combat? Because you don't know what they're capable of, and you don't know, so it's kind of like trying to say, hey, I need help over here, or whatever it is. And that will make your combat better, because that encourages role play, and it rewards the players by getting extra damage in via the NPCs.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've run combat with NPCs 2 different ways. One of the ways was I just did everything for them when I had like 5 for one of the encounters, and that was because they were going to rescue these NPCs, so that's why they were there. And what I did in that scenario, because there was so many that it was going to take a while, I just rolled behind, like, during the player's turn, the NPC was also going as well, and when it came to that point, it was, okay, A shoots a bow, they hit, B casts a spell, they hit, C heals the party, whatever was going on.
Yeah.
But in that situation as well, it was a non-standard combat, because their goal was also not to kill the thing, but to grab what they came there for and get out, because it was way beyond them. And I've also run it the way that Erica says, and it works really well if you just have them at the end and tell your party, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to heal, hurt, or do something supportive?
Yeah. Also, kind of going back to Erica, what you had said about like average damage for your big bads, I guess, technically.
Mhm.
I feel like still rolling the dice would be fun to scare players, but then just still use average damage. like I thought about that, and I was
If
like,
you're
well, if you
trying
want
to
to
save time, if
just
you're trying
do
to,
average, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying like use average. If you're in tier 3 and your
Oh
combats
yeah,
are
no,
taking hours,
yeah.
use average damage. I mean, it's not as exciting, no, but but it'll save you time.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're just like us and you have everything set out, the dice you need, and you're ready for everything.
Well,
even
then it takes a moment to count everything up. So using the average damage.
No, I'm still saying use average damage. I'm saying you still roll the dice
to fake it.
To fake it, yeah. And still just use average damage.
out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
but the third time you're still using the same number.
Oh,
no.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, you just do it one time. You do it one time for the shock
okay.
factor, and then it's
Oh,
like,
I see.
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, I do
Okay.
something similar on Roll20 with my group when they fight something that has like a big damage threshold. Normally I roll everything on private so they can't see it.
And then you'll
When I
roll
do
that on normal.
I roll it on public so they can see that was 10d6 or whatever it was.
Yeah. I've been thinking about stealing this mechanic or not mechanic. I don't know if it's considered mechanic or what is considered normal DM style for Morkborg for 5e. So like in Morkborg, the DM doesn't roll anything, the players roll it, and the players roll their own damage they're gonna receive. I thought it would be funny if you were fighting a dragon, whenever the breath weapon comes up, make one of the players who's gonna get it has to roll it.
Yeah.
Just to mess
I
with
kind of
them.
like that
That
idea.
would be
actually.
funny.
I know. I've been thinking about it. I'm like, well, I haven't ran 5e.
You just
in
have to run
actually
5e
years
again.
now.
That
I
actually
guess
might
I guess I'm gonna
combat-
have to now.
Oh no!
Have to put dragon in there.
Oh,
no.
That actually might make
darn!
combat a lot more interesting for the player too. So
Yeah, the anxiety.
I
know.
might steal that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. I'm like, if I ever, switch back, I will. But right now, I'm enjoying Castles and Crusades right now. So
Yeah,
it's change pace. It's not a big change pace, but it's change pace.
Well,
all right. We rolled the die.
On
Or
to
does
the
anybody
next
else have
one.
anything they want to say? Cool. Oh, look, it's mine.
ooh,
So my topic is, okay, so, just a disclaimer for this one. My topic is third-party books we recommend. So, when we chose this to be a topic and I prepared to talk about it, this was before Dragonheim was bought by Wizards of the Coast, and that was my pick. And so, I chose a different one, but adventure-wise, that is my pick for 5e. So, shout out to Kelly and Monty. So, I really like Dragonheim as a setting. I think it's one of the best I've played in. Now, I have Heckna, and that's probably what I will run for 5e next. Unless I finally get to use Grim Hollow, which I would love to use, but it's, I know Foxfire, you would love it. Lots of werewolves.
I'm down.
I know. It's very dark. I would love to
live my
but
dark
doing
Twilight
it,
fantasy.
yeah,
down
doing
for
it right
this.
after Strahd would have I feel like too close, and so I think Heckna and Grim Hollow. I've been stealing Grim Hollow monsters and putting them in Castles and Crusades just because I want to use them so bad. But anyways, this is my pick for the third party book. I just happen to have it in my office, and I'm trying to make sure there's no glare. So what it is Tome of Beast. It's the pocket edition. I have my hardback at home, by Kobold Press. So the reason why this is my pick is because I mostly am a DM. So you get tired of the same old monsters, and sometimes you steal stuff from other monsters and put them with different ones and kind of mash up. And I really like this book. I think there's some really awesome monsters in here that are very unique that you haven't seen a 15th time, because there's only so many ways you can reskin a zombie. But my favorite part is, if you have the book, it's on page 184, the Fey Lords and Ladies. And the art in it is really neat, but they have like the Bear King, the Moonlight King, Lord of the Hunt, and they all have lore to go with them. And that way you could, if you were doing something in the Feywild, or if you wanted to bring someone from the Feywild into your game to the material plane, you already have a backstory for them provided to you, which is nice. They all have their own like custom attacks, and they all have legendary actions, which is always a plus. They are higher level challenge ratings. They're like 17, 18. So they are in that higher tier level of play, but they should be. I mean, they're part of the Fey court. So, and I think it's in this one. I think it might be in the second one. In one of them, there's a shark inside a ooze that looks like a bowl of water, and the shark will take its tail. I don't know who made this monster, but I'm just gonna be honest with you. This is one of my favorite monsters of all time. I want to build a combat solely around it and a whole dungeon around the monster. So in the fishbowl, which is made of an ooze, there is a shark inside of it, and they coexist. And the shark flaps its tail, or whatever, wags its tail. I don't know, whatever the fuck it's called whenever a shark does, this. And it is what propels the ooze forward. And in the picture, there is a tiny little, like a little ruin of a castle that would be in a fish tank. And I just want to make that into a dungeon. And I have used this, I think, with y'all before one time. Sparks, I'm pretty sure you played in that game.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I was like,
I am obsessed with that monster. I love it. If you made it, like, kudos to you. I don't know who made it, but it is one of my favorite monsters of all time. It is silly as fuck, and you can build an entire adventure around one monster. So kudos to you. Hats off. One of my favorites.
That is a really cool monster.
It is an amazing monster. It's genius. I wish I'd have thought of it. That's my 2 recommendations. Dragonheim, Tome of Beast for 5e.
Sparks.
I guess I'll kick it to Sparks. I was about to say, I'll just kick it to you. Sorry.
Well, I have mine, and it's going to be no surprise as I've talked about my love of this system completely. The Cthulhu Mythos for 5e. It is a Call of Cthulhu 5th edition companion, basically, that brings Call of Cthulhu into 5th edition. So it adds it adds new rules for like insanity and for dreams in that like kind of 5th edition already has, but it brings like more because it's Call of Cthulhu. It brings in all of the old ones, so like most of the gods that you see in like Cthulhu, and outer gods as well. So it adds more gods. That brings more kind of like, if you go with the great old one, if you're like a warlock and that's your patron, like you can have so many more gods, which I've yet to do that one yet, because I just gotta have the right time. It just depends on how emo and dark I want to get and how like insane I want to be. It adds like more monsters with stat blocks and that like you wouldn't see. It also brings new races as well that you can play in 5th edition that it brings. It has like the Dreamland cats. You can play a cat. It has like ghouls, Noris and Zogs, just kind of monsters that you would see in Call of Cthulhu, but made for playable races, which I think is like really cool. It also has like character options, professions, feats, and races. I don't have the book in front of me, or I would turn to a page and I would read you something out of it. But that's just one that I'm like, as soon as I saw that it was announced and it was coming, I think me and Erica were talking about it when it got announced, because it was on Critical Role one night. And we were texting for it, and we were like, oh my gosh. And they have this beautiful limited edition leather cover. Oh, it was so beautiful. It's so great. But that is one of my like 3rd-party 5th edition books. I also have another one. I'm going to have to grab the book to know this one. So hold on.
I don't want to cut you off. But just in case somebody's interested in it, that's Sandy Peterson's Cthulhu Mythos is the book. That way you can find the publisher. It's Sandy Peterson.
Yeah, it's on petersongames.com.
Yeah. So, it was a Kickstarter in 2018.
Oh, I just pre-ordered it on the website. I didn't do a Kickstarter.
Yeah, well, I just pulled it up that way if somebody was interested in it, just to make it easier for them to find it.
Yeah. So the other 5th edition companion that I'm going to talk about is Anime 5e. I love anime, and this was a Kickstarter that I backed and randomly got in the mail because I forgot I backed it. And basically it brings like a lot of sort of anime archetypes, the anime like professions that you see in all the different kind of animes into 5th edition. So yeah, this one was a Kickstarter. I think it was in 2020 or 2021. But I really enjoyed it because I love the animes and I like that I could bring them my animes love into 5th edition. So that's mine. Foxfire.
All right. So first off, I didn't realize we were supposed to get two.
I think
So
we
Well,
just
I
decided
only prepared one. So
No, that's
I'm
fine.
trying to look up the name of the other that I would
we're
recommend, 'cause
we're
there is two.
Virgos. We're Virgos, so
I-
we're always extra.
I couldn't decide because I felt like I needed to have an adventure, and I was like, but I also feel like I need a DM source book. So that you only have to do one. Don't feel pressured to do two. It's only
Well,
Okay.
one.
I was just looking up the name of the second one because I couldn't remember what it was. Because I did have two
Got
that I
you.
can recommend.
Yeah.
So the first one, probably not going to come as any surprise to the two that are sitting here because it is essentially a source book for furries. And it is the Delver's Guide to the Beast World. So what I love about this is it's a whole setting. It's got its own cosmology, its own races, its own world, and it's detailed in how the lore of the world is and everything. It's got maps. It's got a bunch of different races. The art in it is really cute. And the races are all animal themed in some way. It's got its own variation of kobolds, dragonborns, jackal people, fox people, dog people, etc., and so forth.
Oh, you brought this to Upper Cumberland Con.
I did.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, because we looked
technically,
through it.
technically, my
Well,
now
it was
ex
brought
did,
at it
but
was brought to
yes.
Upper
Yeah,
Cumberland.
we didn't want to bring that up.
Yeah, I was just saying you brought it to a con. So
Look, I'll be honest about it. It wasn't me that brought the book to the con, but I have the PDF, and I do enjoy it. It is got some good art, and it's got some good stuff in it. But the part of it that makes it a recommendation for me is none of that stuff, although all of that stuff is great. The part that I recommend is the caravan stats and
Oh, yeah.
everything. Because the book comes
Mhm.
with a section where you can build your own caravan, and there's 3 different types, and they're all highly customizable. You can make
Erica's
them faster,
disappearing.
you can pop weapons on them, all kinds of things. So that's why I recommend the Delver's Guide, just because you can make your own caravan and your players can build it, and it's just a neat concept to me. Because there wasn't really anything like that in 5e that I saw. It was pretty much just, here's a cart, and no other
It's
details.
true. And I mean, if you got a band of bards, that's perfect for, you know,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
that would be perfect for that. I've always wanted to do a bard campaign. It's
We
not
should make it
anything.
happen, just for Erica.
I know. I was hoping my shark was in here so I could show you, but it's not. Google it. It's a requirement.
Shark
Unfortunate.
ooze.
But
Shark ooze.
the second one that I would recommend is also something that's not heavily detailed in the actual rules of 5e, as far as I'm aware, at least I haven't seen. And that is Kibble's Compendium of Craft. So that's another one I just have the PDF for, but I backed it on Kickstarter a few years back when it was on there. And it basically gives different ways that people can craft things in game. It's weapons, it's potions, it's all kinds of things that aren't, I don't feel, fully fleshed out in 5e as it is. And this fleshes it out a little bit more.
We looked at this one, Erica, for your school campaign because I think it did potions.
It does do potions.
It goes like it's like profession. Like you have your class, and then you have a profession that you can master, like culinary,
Yeah.
like cooking. We
Mhm.
looked
Yeah.
at the Kickstarter for that.
Yeah.
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 And then I think Fox was like, I bought it, and we were like, oh, cool. And then that campaign ended.
Yeah, I have the PDF somewhere in my millions of emails, but yes, it is. What I got to look over, the art again was good, and it was just an interesting concept in crafting because, like, in the campaign I'm running right now, I have players that wanted to do things with crafting, and so I was like, well, I'm glad I bought this.
Yeah, no, I remember looking at that. It was really cool. Putting those together could be really fun. Like you're traveling students, and you're like, that's why you
Yeah.
have a caravan. You're like merchants and stuff. This could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely gives more options to the players to customize their characters a little bit more beyond just combat.
That's true. It would make like travel time a little bit more interesting if you utilize those. And just to clarify, the reason why my shark is not in this book, it's in the Creature Codex by Kobold Press. So it's still by Kobold Press. It's just a different book.
Yeah. And you can just search shark ooze, because I was checking just to make sure it didn't pull up anything.
You know what? I was like, when I looked at it, I was like, it's not in here. It's in the Creature Codex by Kobold Press. It's still Kobold Press. Which they make good.
But I was just checking to make sure if you search shark ooze, it pulled up the actual thing and not just something weird that we're telling you to look up.
Yeah, no, I have all of their 5th edition like creature Tome of Beast. I have like all of their monster manuals basically. So I guess I crossed them, but I do like the Fey Court in this. So that's my bad. Well, I mean, we only have one topic left. If nobody else has anything to say about what they recommend or they forget and cross.
Just one for our viewers. If you have a third-party book that you really enjoy, drop it in the comments.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, do that. We totally want to know.
I mean, I do. I love getting any new source books.
Sorry, no, I'm in my Mean Girl era because we watched Mean Girls, and now I'm just like, I'm gonna live my life that way.
Sparks, you did not need any more Mean Girl.
I didn't. Apparently, the astrological signs have all added up to Virgos being in their bad bitch era, and we're not gonna take any shit this year. So we're in our villain era right now.
That's literally you all the time.
Yes, I know, but it's just more accurate. But it's just more accurate right now. It's not funny, bitch.
It's pretty funny.
It is funny because I'm also a Virgo, and she didn't say about me. She said about you.
We're on two different ends of it. I'm more vocal about my bitchiness.
I know how to contain mine and use it when needed.
Yeah, no, I just like everybody to know that I am at 100 on the bitch scale all the time. But hot take is about to be my topic. Every time. My hot take is, do you feel like healers are actually needed in 5th edition? Like full-fledged healers, not like half healers. But full-fledged healers like your clerics or like your full like kind of like class subclasses just based on healing. Do you feel like that is needed in 5th edition? I am on the side, it's like meh, depending on when you start. Like in your campaign, what level you start at. I feel like that can determine whether or not yes you need it or yes you don't. But I don't know, like I see like a lot now, like I mean, I feel like we've talked about it in a previous episode about like 5th edition being very overpowered. Your characters are very overpowered. So it feels like healing is not really needed anymore. Depending on the setting that you're in, depending on the adventure that you're doing, it can kind of feel like it's not really needed because you don't really take enough damage to really take you out. And if you do, then, I mean, you have healing potions. If you have a ranger, you have Goodberry that can stabilize somebody at 1 hit point. It's like you have so many of these other things now that it's like, do you really need a class that's just dedicated to healing?
Sparks, so yes, it absolutely depends on the campaign and the DM and the group. Because depending on the campaign, no. You don't really need a healer. You can get healing potions super easily and you'll be fine. And then, of course, you short and long rest. But if you're in... And it also depends on the DM, because if you have a DM that's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, healing potions are easy to get. They're relatively cheap, and you can... They're giving you the money to get them. And if you have a party that's really careful and doesn't act recklessly, then yeah, healing's not as much of a thing. But I've been in campaigns where we had a healer and we still were not doing well as far as health. I'm thinking of the campaign specifically being a hardcore campaign, essentially, where long rest was 1 HP that you got back, and short rest did not do anything for you. Healing potions were absolutely vital, but we had trouble keeping money because, we were low level and it was a hardcore campaign, so we couldn't just go out and adventure every single day. And we did have a healer who almost always had to use their turn to heal us because we almost always were hurting. So in situations like that, yes, a healer is absolutely vital because we would have died 100 times over if not for that healer. But I've also seen it to where the players are really careful and the DM doesn't play by that rule. And so the healer feels like they don't do anything. I can argue that if you have a very lenient DM or a very easy campaign, then no, you don't need a healer. But I've also seen a DM drop 300 damage on the party, and luckily the healer was not involved in that and was able to bring everybody up. I was the healer. And I saw my life flash before my eyes because that would have been instant death for my 73 HP self.
I mean, I don't really know if there's something I could say that hasn't already been said about. I mean, 5e is one of those systems that doesn't, I don't think, has a purpose, right? You have systems that have a purpose to them, right? Call of Cthulhu is an investigative system. Candle Obscura, same, right? You have Dungeon Crawl Classic. It's in the name. Wonder what you do in it. Dungeons.
I don't
Right?
know.
I feel it. I mean, exactly. Who knows? It's a mystery. Joseph Goodman, you're a
So
mythical,
mysterious.
logical creature. What do you want us to do with these Dungeon Crawl Classic? I feel like 5th edition is purposeless, and I don't mean that as a slight towards it. It's one of those systems that if you want it to be a dungeon crawl, it's a dungeon crawl. If you want it to be an investigative simulator, it's an investigative simulator, and you're just doing skill checks. So it can be utilized with different styles of play and different goals of play. So if you're doing a dungeon crawl, you probably want some heals. If I had my original DM, his dad and brothers had been playing D&D since the beginning of D&D. And so the idea of playing like a dungeon crawl, they got tired of it. And so they had stacks of notebooks. And what the notebooks were, and this is a type of player and there's nothing wrong with it, it's not for everybody, but they had stacks of notebooks that were almost like ledgers, for their companies, their kingdoms. They were lords and they met on political councils and they talked about trade routes, and this shipping company didn't pay their taxes, so we need to take these people and put them there. They were not on the small scale of an adventurer. They were the people who made the decisions. They were,
They were playing
Tyrion Lannister.
Civilization.
Yeah, they, and with something like that, no, you do not need, if you're playing a political game and you're running, armies into battles and stuff, no, you don't need a healer. You're sitting basically at a war table, at a government table. And so I could see where in 5e, depending on how you're using the system, no, you don't need a healer at all. But if you're out doing, hex crawls and trying to slay a dragon, stuff like that, you might want to have a healer. And even if you don't have a designated healer or a straight up cleric, like y'all had said, Goodberry's a thing. Warlocks can heal.
Sorcerers, pretty much
can,
a lot of
everybody can. Now with one D&D, whatever they do with that, supposedly divine magic will be separate and only certain classes will have access to it. So it isn't like this mixed bag where it's like, cool, I'm a bard, I can heal you. Like, oh, I'm a barbarian, I can heal you too. You know, where
Yeah.
it's almost a little bit more special, the healing magic versus like
Yeah.
everybody can do it.
Well,
so it doesn't
and-
really matter anymore.
And that's why, like I said, like a designated class just for
think-
healing.
I think it depends on
Like-
your party composition
Yeah.
and the adventures you're going to be going on.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And your DM, if you know you got a DM who's like really doesn't challenge you, they don't push you in, then no. Would y'all ever want to do a political campaign where you're just
Yes.
basically like playing Game of Thrones at a war table?
I mean,
Yes.
I'd be down to try it. Because
I would
I do
hate
love
that.
roleplay.
You mean
I would
no
hate-
dungeons? Yeah, I'm there.
It's all political. I hate politics.
I know.
I'm good on all. Y'all can do that. I'll be over there. And
I feel
I'll
like
be,
it's different though. In-game politics
her
is
name?
different than.
I feel like I'm not smart enough to do a political campaign.
I feel like if I'm gonna be on the political side of it, I'm Ingrid from Beyond the Wall. Like that's where I'm gonna be. If I'm in Game of Thrones, I'm like, give me a bow, put me out in the wilderness. I don't want to be in a gown at a table. That sounds boring as hell.
I'd be Arya.
That's just me.
I'd definitely
Yeah,
be
Arya.
Fuck this. I'll just
I'd
stab you instead.
Yeah, I will take your face and stab you. Yeah, that sounds great. But I like Ingrid's hair. Like Arya's hair is not my favorite. She needs the haircut. It's not great.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, and I like that. You know nothing, Jon Snow. I love.
You just
God,
want to
I
be able
love
to
it.
say that.
Yeah, I do. I do actually.
Gosh. Well, does anybody have anything else to say? All
No.
right.
It'll be interesting to see what happens though, because one D&D is supposed to happen this year.
Never know. All right. Well, we hope you enjoy this episode. And, if you have anything to say about any of our topics, leave them down below, especially those third-party book recommendations that Foxfire really wants. So, yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Google the ooze.
Hey travelers, thank you so much for watching this episode of Dice and Dish. We really hope that you enjoyed it and that you leave a like, comment, and you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Music or wherever you listen to your podcast at. Our next episode is going to be coming out on April 12th. And we hope that you guys enjoy. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.